Hello, I'm Darrell Warner, the artist who created this watercolour of a Eurasian siskin. I'm based in the Cotswolds in the United Kingdom and have a studio approximately 2 miles from my home that sits on the edge of a lake. As a place of creativity, my studio has no internet and I choose to have it remain that way, not wanting to be distracted by modern technology. I've been a freelance artist now for some 41 years, primarily working in watercolour, attempting to push the perception of that medium. The Barley Bird follows the traditional genre of naturemort, an age-old approach of still life painting. However, rather than have a selection of subjects, I have always focused on a single object, in my case predominantly deceased birds, the Barley Bird being the 25th such type painting and my third consecutive piece to be exhibited at the wonderful Lee Yorkie Woodson. I should state that I do not go out looking for my subject matter, for in most cases they find me. Be it a neighbour who calls to say that a goldfinch has just flown into their conservatory window, or that someone has struck a magpie in their car. These tend to be the scenarios I am drawn to, that interface of the man-made and the natural world about us. Ultimately, the effects we, as humans, are inflicting upon Mother Nature, albeit seen at times as accidental. In the bigger picture of things, such mundane, everyday happenings deplete breeding populations on a very large scale. As a painting, the Barley Bird is a slight departure from my normal approach, where I tend to very much focus on capturing my subject matter at life size. In doing so, I'm hoping to raise awareness of the fragility and beauty of the featured bird. However, I have to confess that my eyesight isn't quite what it used to be, so by choosing to up the scale on recent specimens has been a bit of an excursion that has rather freed me up in so many ways. Being 2.5 times life size presents greater scope to embrace watercolour in other ways. At a lesser scale, especially with representing finches or buntings for example, as an artist, one is always fighting the want to be really pulled into photographic detail or into an illustrative mode. Whereas, when a subject is much larger, there is far more scope for interpretation and a myriad of ways to allow watercolour to happen. Critical to this painting is the successful embracing of a single dramatic hue in the greens. I wasn't at all sure in principle or concept this would work, a predominantly green bird resting on a green ground, but felt assured by the thought that the human eye responds to and sees more differing greens than any other colour. Constituting multiple layering of glazes and employing all manner of greens from gold green through to chromatic oxide, the saturation is ultimately the binding element. In selecting to paint a deceased bird, for many appears rather morbid, but to me, as an artist, really allows us to observe, to be presented with the joy and opportunity to celebrate something we really rarely get to see at close quarters. In doing so, I hope that through my painting, the bird continues to really live and sing.